Just how are we talking about Max Verstappen being a factor in the 2025 Drivers' Championship? If you said that at the halfway point this season, many people, myself included, would have laughed at that thought. It was a case of the two McLaren drivers, whichever one was your favourite, and the championship in terms of the Constructors' Championship was all but done. It was a case of if and not when. Yet suddenly, here we are. We find ourselves talking about Max Verstappen being a factor. Now, I've been asked many times why I think this is, and I don't think it's one single thing. So I thought, you know what? Let's do a video over my thoughts on why Max Verstappen is suddenly in the hunt. Now, first up, we've got to talk about development of the car. We know that McLaren, along with most of the teams on the grid, turned off their development early on. McLaren especially had this dominant lead. They had no sort of inkling to develop a 2025 car that was guaranteed pretty much to give them the Constructors' Championship. So therefore, they turned everything off. No new upgrades planned, nothing new, just deal with what you got. That led to the summer break. And of course, what happened afterwards was to do with the sacking of Christian Horner. Now, Christian Horner got fired. In come Laurent Mekies from Visa Cash Out Racing Bulls. Now, yes, the conspiracy theorists will say that actually they were sharing information all along. However, it's not as simple as that. They realistically weren't. But what they are sharing is the team principal who's come from a team that was looking slightly more settled in terms of development of the car. He came into Red Bull. He suddenly saw there were issues with the Red Bull. Instead of focusing on 2026 development like they were, he wanted to understand what was going on with the 2025 car using the knowledge that he had from Visa Cash Out Racing Bulls. Therefore, they set to work on a plan which introduced a new floor in Monza and subsequently some more upgrades that have come off the basis of that new floor that arrived after the summer break. That was to get them an understanding before they carried on with the 2026 car. That was designed purely to make sure that that development next year was right, that correlation with the wind tunnel was right, and make sure they're on the right lines. It wasn't designed to put Max in the title fight, yet inadvertently it has, because suddenly that gap to McLaren has got lower and lower, and suddenly they find themselves in the hunt, and they are suddenly starting to willingly put parts on that Red Bull in a bid to sacrifice some of their development next year to get Max in with a chance of winning that Drivers' Championship, and also to understand that car better to make sure they're on that development route. That in itself has given Max that confidence that he needs. He's got the pressure off him. He was never expected to win the championship, so therefore he's driving quite free of pressure. We know that invariably leads to drivers being more relaxed and more sort of willing to go for it. Not that Max needs that excuse, but suddenly he finds himself in that position where he may be the champion, but he's not the favoured champion. So therefore, he can just pick these points back. That's coupled with a bit of a DNF, McLaren's taking each other out, all sorts going on. And of course, Ferrari and Mercedes and even Williams nicking podiums and taking points from the McLaren drivers has suddenly found Max Verstappen right back in this title hunt. Do I think it's arrived by accident? Kind of, yes. Do I think it's inevitable that he's being talked about as the favourite going into the last few races? Absolutely. These tracks will suit Red Bull and they will suit Max. And that is worrying if you're a McLaren fan, because ultimately, Max Verstappen's on the charge. And if he picks up another stack of points like he did with 2 sprint races left this season and still a lot of points to play for, Max Verstappen 2025 Drivers' Championship may not be so far-fetched as what it was in the summer break.